ask you something. And today our guest is Mr. Lin Yifu Lin, who is a very famous economist in China, and one of the busiest person in Chinese economic world. So it's really good to have you here, Mr. Lin. Thank you for coming.
Well, it's my honor to have this opportunity talking with you and to share some of my view with the audience in Korea. And I like Korean food. I like kimchi, I enjoy the meeting with you and with the possibility of exchange ideas with friends from Korea.
Yeah, great. And first, let me start with your history. And you have a brilliant history, especially chief economist or senior vice president at World Bank after receiving PhD in the University of Chicago. And what is the most important role you had played there at the time?
Well, first I have to say I'm a lucky person.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to be the first economist from the developing world to take the position of chief economist at the World Bank, which is considered as the highest job for economists in the whole world. It is because of the success of China's transition. We know that global development community has one important goal is to help developing countries develop their economy to reduce poverty. But by the time of 2000, if we take the 700 million people which were poor out of poverty, out of it, the people in the world living in poverty since the Second World War did not decline. In fact, continue to grow. And because of China's contribution to the global effort for poverty fight, I had the opportunity to be the chief economist of the World Bank. And during my tenure at the World Bank, it was from 2008 to 2012. Certainly, the most important challenges and an issue for me was how to help the world cope with the global financial crisis. Because it was a shock in the world. And the shock was so severe. Some people think it was more severe than what happened in 1929. And so my job was how to, help the World Bank and to a large extent also some other developing countries to cope with the challenges.
So challenging and response was your role. And in the past, you pointed out the importance of including renminbi to SDR. And finally, your dream, or maybe it's not only your dream, but your expectation or your forecast has been accomplished and implemented in real terms. And what do you think the meaning of renminbi to be included into SDR?
Well, I think that it's my research show.
Okay.
The reason for this global financial crisis erupted in 2008. It was because of US dollars was the main reserve currency in the world. And it's a national currency. And certainly this national currency, their policies was mainly for the domestic needs. So there's a conflict between the domestic interest and the global interest. And I think that was the roots of the 2008 global financial crisis. And the transition process to have more currencies in the basket would be important to reduce this kind of conflicts of domestic interest and international interest.
So if SDR has more currencies included in SDR, then it will help help the economy, the global economy. But maybe it means that yuan, not just to be included into SDR, but yuan should be or second or third kind of vehicle currency in the world, and you assume that kind of role in renminbi in the future.
I think it will evolve. Certainly, now China is the second largest economy in the world. China is the largest trading country in the world. And certainly, to make Chinese currency a global reserve currency will reduce the transaction cost of trade. It's certainly good for China, but it will be good for all the trading partners of China. And in addition to, as we just discussed, if we have a larger pool of reserve currencies, it can improve the global monetary system, and we can have a better, predictable, stable international monetary system.
I see. So the yuan become yuan should maybe you say it should become one of the main vehicle currency in the world, but there are many challenges, I think.
Well,
so
certainly.
What do you think about that?
The challenge is now is that China is still a developing country, and the domestic financial markets is not deep enough. And under the kind of situation, certainly will become a constraint. But fundamentally, China is on the process of reform, transition.
Right.
China will strengthening the financial system, and financial deepening certainly is part of the development effort in China.
So that kind of things will help yuan to become a bigger currency. And let me go into your recent article. The name of the article you wrote in Huffington Post is "Don't Worry, China Will Keep Growing." Very positive kind of title. But maybe, I know that you are generally positive about Chinese economy, but let me ask you this question. About the growth rate was like 10% level, and it is going down gradually. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So 6 is is 6%. So, but it's going down, but it's still above 6. But do you think is there any lower limit or something like that? If it goes into 5% level, then it will never go down more than 5% or something like that.
Well, first, we know that many people in the world are pessimistic about China. And also in the last few years, we often heard about the prediction of coming collapse of the Chinese economy. And the reason for them to have those kind of prediction or argument was because Chinese economy, as you said, slowed down from about 10% growth down to last year 6.9%. And the 6.9% was the lowest growth rate since 1990. And it was also the first time for Chinese economy to have such a long period of deceleration since the reform started in 1970. And many people thought the reason for the slowing down was because of internal structural problems. And we know that internal structural problems, it's not so easy to remove, to handle.
Yeah.
And so some people predict the Chinese growth rate will continue to slow down and down to something like you say 5%. Some people even predict Chinese growth rate may drop down to 3%.
Oh, 3%.
And like now someone said that should be the normal for the growth rate for any country in the world, and China should return to the normal. And but careful study the Chinese economy and the global economies. On the one hand, I have to admit, China has a lot of structural problems,
Yeah.
right? But like any country,
Yeah, right.
don't have a lot of
We
structural
also, we are the
problems,
same.
right? So it's not new. And China certainly also need to take some measure to have a structural reform.
Yeah.
However, my understanding, my analysis show the main reason for the slowing down was not internal structural problem. The main reason for the slowing down was external and cyclical. And it's not so hard for me to prove my position, because we can see other transition economy and other emerging market economy, like Brazil, Russia, India. During the same period of time, they all have exactly the same performance. Right? China's growth rate in 2010 was 10.6%, down to 6.9% in 2015. But Brazil's growth rate dropped from 7.5% in 2010 down to negative 3.8% in 2015. Russia from 4.5% in 2010 down to negative 3.7% in 2015. India appeared to be better. In 2010, its growth rate was 10.3%. China 10.6% was in the same level. And in 2015, India's growth rate was 7.6%, but the pattern was the same. And for the 7.6%, we need to take into another two factors into consideration. One was that from 2010 to 2012, India's growth rate dropped from 10.3% down to 5.1%. China from 10.6% down to 7.7%. That means India's decline was much sharper. So there was some kind of response. Secondly, we know that at the end of 2014, India changed its statistical method for the national economy, and which change allowed India to have 1% more growth rate. So if we took that into consideration, India growth rate in 2015 must be below 7% like China. So the pattern exactly the same. But they don't have the same structural problem that China had, right? Some people argue because China had too many state-owned enterprises, China saved too much, consumed too little, but they did not have those kind of problems. They had exactly the same pattern. Not only so, we can look into other East Asian high-income, high-performing economies like Korea. Korea in 2010 growth rate was 6.5%, and last year was 2.6%. Exactly the same as China. And Korea is a high-income, high-performing economy.
Not so high, but anyway.
Right. And so the only thing that can explain why so many countries in the same period of time had exactly the same pattern of growth. It must be some kind of external cyclical. And because it's external cyclical, then whether China or any country will be able to maintain growth will very much depend on whether we have enough space to grow from the domestic sources. And for that, I'm confident China still has a lot of opportunity to grow and China should be able to maintain 6.5% and above as the government targeted. And with 6.5%, because China's GDP now contributes 15% of global GDP.
Okay.
That means that China will contribute about 1 percentage point of growth to the world every year. And now the global growth is only about 3%.
Yeah.
So that means that China each year will continue to contribute about 30% to the global growth.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, still China is very strong and still contribute a lot to the growth of global economy. But if the growth rate of a small country is going down, then you don't worry about that. But
Right.
if the growth rate of a big country and the level of GDP is like $10 trillion and it is going down, then it make people a little nervous about
Yeah.
the future of the economy. And okay, so you are relatively positive, and the growth rate is going down as much as others, not more or not less, right? Something like that.
Actually less.
Yeah, actually less, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, then your idea is a very positive view about Chinese economy, but many people are talking about the real estate bubble these days of China, and in Korea there are actually three speed. We find three speeds in real estate market. In Seoul, in the center,
Yeah.
Group A.
Yeah.
The growth rate or the price is increasing a lot,
Yeah.
going up a lot. B group, which is a little far from the center of Seoul, is very stable or just so-so. And group C,
Yeah.
yeah, the growth rate of the real estate price is negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going down.
Yeah.
So always, I think that there are three groups in real estate markets, and we just talk about Group A in
Yeah.
China, about the other Group B and C in China these days.
Yeah, I
in
think
real
exactly
estate
the same,
markets.
like in Korea.
Oh, in
We
China.
have in first year,
Yeah.
Cities,
Okay.
the growth rate, was quite high. Then we have the second tier cities, the growth rate was moderate.
Well,
And then we have third tier or fourth tier cities. Then the growth rate is 0 or even negative. So similar. I think real estate is something, first, it's very important for China
right.
because China is still on the process of urbanization. Last year, the urbanization rate in China was 56.1%. We know that when a country reach high income status like Korea, the urbanization rate will be about 80%.
Okay.
Right. So China is still on the urbanization process. That means rural people will move from countryside to the cities. They need to have housing, real estate.
Right.
Secondly, the income growth in China is still quite fast. With higher income, people want to have better quality housing, larger space, and that means housing, real estate will still be a very important sector that requires investment contribute to the growth in China. But certainly real estate is something we need to, pay attention to, because if we want to learn experiences from other countries, very often, if you have a housing bubble, and the burst of bubble may turn into financial crisis. So that means, on the one hand, it's very important for our economy, but on the other hand, we should be cautious.
That's very important issues. And okay, I want to ask you about the corporate debt. You know very well about the situation, and we are worrying about the level of debt and the growth rate of corporate debt. In Korea, the growth rate of household debt is really high.
Yeah.
And in China, many people are talking about the corporate debt, and the level of corporate debt is like 160% or something like that. So is it manageable, and do you think that it can be maintained?
Just like housing, real estate market, I think we need to be watchful. We need to be, careful. But at the same time, I think it's manageable.
Oh.
The main reason is that the financial system in China is bank-based.
Right.
Equity market is still secondary.
Yeah.
And so that means when a companies, they want to make investment, they borrow money instead of issue bond or issue, stock. And under the kind of situation, certainly the corporate debt in this kind of financial system will be high, one thing. And then secondly, I am reasonably confident it's manageable. The main reason is that as long as we can maintain 6.5 and above growth rate, then this kind of leverage is cyclical. When the companies borrow money to make investment, at that time, their leverage ratio will be higher. But once they complete their construction and they start to have revenue, and if the economy can maintain reasonably high growth rate, they will make a profit.
Okay.
They already pay the debt. And so under the kind of situation, because of the slowing down in the economy, the leverage ratio, certainly increase. But with a reasonably high growth rate, then the leverage ratio will drop. That's one thing. Secondly, the debt in China is all domestic debt. Because when we see a country, when they have this kind of high leverage turn into financial crisis, very often it was because they borrowed internationally, just like Korea in 1997, 98, right? And in China, all coming from domestic debt. Third, that saving rate in China is about 50% of the GDP. So under the kind of situation, the debt is domestic debt, and with a large domestic saving, then the system can support such a high, leverage ratio.
Still, it's manageable, and it will not cause many problems. But these days, people are talking about the overcapacity problem, especially in steel industry.
Yeah.
And maybe you talked about reform or restructuring in some field of Chinese economy. And what should be going on in reform and restructuring and overcapacity problem?
The excess capacity in the steel sector in China actually present as
you're playing.
I understand our capacity utilization in the steel sector is around 65%. Korea is also around 60-65%. US is also the same. And it was because cyclical, right? Because the global downturn certainly reduced the opportunity for investment. Then the upstream industry, including steel, aluminum, they will have a larger exit capacity. But as I said, as long as we can maintain reasonably high growth rate, then the demand for those kind of construction material will be maintained or even increase. And under the kind of situation, the excess capacity situation will be, digested in the process of the growth.
Okay. So you think that it should be done, but it's not, or you don't have to be worried about the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you the question about AIIB and One Belt, One Road, and that's really a great agenda, and these days many people are talking about the issues, and finally AIB has been
Yeah.
implemented and founded. So what do you think will be the role of AIB, and you also will work there, or you have a role in those kind of institutions?
Well, first that the AIIB and the One Belt One Road is an initiative from China,
Okay.
and for the purpose of to improve the connectivity of the global markets. And we know that infrastructure is the bottleneck for the growth in many developing countries. And so the AIIB and the One Belt One Road hope to mobilize resources to improve the infrastructure in the developing world.
Okay.
So I think it's good for the world, and especially, you know, we are encountering the global downturn, and during the global downturn, to make infrastructure investment is the best time, because in the short run, it creates demand, create jobs, stabilize the economy. In the long run, it will also enhance the productivity. And I think that is the reason why the AIIB, you know, although US and so on, had a lot of opposition, but the AIIB has been welcomed in the global communities.
So those will be very helpful to promote the
Yeah.
Chinese economy. Okay, let me ask you this question. Did Mr. President Xi received the title the core of the core?
The core
The core, yeah. So
of the party.
yeah. So does it have a lot of effect on Chinese economy, or promoting the reform or something like that?
I think, yeah, it certainly is good, because, you know, during this reform transition process, you know, it will encounter all kind of vested interest, and resistance to the reform and so on may occur. And also, we need to have a consensus about the direction of the reform, and to have C at the core will help to push, you know, forward the reform. And I think he has been demonstrated his, you know, credential and his ability. So I think that this move will make China to be able to carry out the reform in a, you know, more thorough and more, you know, solid way.
Sorry. But in global arena, there are really strange things are happening, especially Brexit,
Yeah.
and also the election, presidential election in the USA.
Yeah.
And generally, the world seems to be going to sort of a protectionist kind of situation. And what should be the role of China in this kind of situation?
I think that, so in this kind of situation, to have One Belt One Road, and to have a commitment to further reform and opening up the Chinese economy would be good for the world. Yeah, because we know protectionism at the end is a lose-lose solution for everyone. And it's better to have an open and trading system in the world, and to work together constructively to address the global issue. And China now is the second largest economy. China is the fastest growing economy. China contributes about 30% or more increase in the global market each year. So voice in China certainly will have a larger weight.
Yeah.
And I hope that, you know, through the collaboration, we can, you know, work together to meet the global challenges.
So those kind of protectionism is not not so good to China and other worlds. Okay. So final question about the maintaining the relationship between Korea and China, and maybe economically the relationship was really good, and what should be the challenges and role of China and Korea in maintaining good relationships with each other?
I think we have a common goal, that is further develop our economy and to improve the well-being of our people. And certainly, China and Korea, our economies are complementary to each other.
Okay.
The rapid expansion of Chinese market will be good for the further growth in Korea, and also the Korea industry, technology, and its investment in China will also help China to grow. So I think this should be our common ground. Certainly, we may have this and that areas of tension and so on, but as long as we have a common ground, we can solve those kind of problems through more dialogue, more understand each other's position, and at the end, I'm sure we have the wisdom to come up with a solution to address all the issues.
Okay, great. Okay. Today, really a great time to talk with you, and it's I really thank you for coming here and having an interview with KFAS. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's my honor. Yeah.
Professor Yun is